Welcome into the Cougar Cast here at the Kokomo Post Sports. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, and this is the place to get all the information on what's going on inside the athletic department at IU Kokomo. And joining us at the top of the show once again is Grant Patterson, the sports information coordinator at IUK. Grant, you were gone for a few weeks, back last week, back to doing this back-to-back weeks once again.
Feel like we're back in the groove, Jay.
I think so. Dude, it's fun. I enjoy doing this show with you. I really do. I said the same thing with Tom earlier, but also with you. It's fun hearing not only someone that's in the administration part of IUK, but also you're still a student. And sometimes I lose sight of that, Grant. We were literally at a volleyball game, I think, and I was like, oh, yeah, you're a student. It's still something I forget about. Are you still having a good time, an easy time, maybe, juggling both responsibilities?
Yeah, it's definitely been tough this year with having an AD change in the middle of the fall semester, but our new AD, Heather Hayes, has made sure that things run smoothly and is allowed to give me time to make sure I'm balancing those. And yeah, we're almost there. This is the last week. Have a couple assignments due Wednesday of this week, and then we're done. So.
Oh, man, it's kind of like a breeze. Couple assignments, get to go into winter break and Christmas and all that good time. You might have some school responsibilities as far as athletic department stuff in the meantime, but a couple assignments, that's easy. It's easy stuff.
Oh, yeah. Got a couple good groups I'm working with, so now my head's focused on the basketball games this week and then a little vacation to Florida over Christmas break.
I'm kind of jealous.
Hey, it'll be warm.
Very warm. One thing that Grant mentioned last time he was on the show was esports being in the conference championship, their first year as a sport at IUK. And we heard Nick Liegey earlier a few months ago on the show. We'll actually be on the show later on discussing the championship that esports won. First semester, first time a program at IUK, and here we have another conference championship. What would you like to highlight from that run that they had over the past few weeks?
Yeah, I'm just so excited for both the athletic department and the esports program as a whole. I mean, what can we say? I'm definitely excited to hear Nick's input later in the show, considering he is more well-versed in the esports world. But to see them win a conference championship in the first semester of them being a program, and I'm sure there'll be some crazy memories and stories that stem from this, but it's just awesome to hear. And the leadership that they have built, like I said, in semester one, it's super impressive, and that just adds to the athletic department's success this fall. We have 2 River States conference titles with women's soccer and volleyball, and now we get an NECC conference title in esports. So 3 conference titles in one semester. Pretty strong start to the school year athletically.
Very, very strong. Were you expecting double-digit wins from them when they first started the program?
I didn't know what to expect.
Okay.
I honestly had no clue. I mean, to be honest, I knew Super Smash Bros, but Overwatch and I didn't know Rocket League as well. So Overwatch was a new title, but the other two I had watched streams, whether that be on Twitch or I had buddies that played the game. So I knew what to expect, but I've never watched these competitive esports matches. So to see how they go and to tune in on Twitch and watch these postseason matches that Nick and his crew streamed, it was pretty awesome. And to hear their success stories, it's even more intriguing.
You know, this is one of the weird times for coming on the show and not talking about a volleyball game. We've done so much about that over the past few weeks and months about volleyball success, 30-plus wins, made it to the national tournament final site there in Iowa. No games to talk about with volleyball, but there were a couple volleyball players that were recognized and honored as All-Americans this year. Lexi Broyles was third-team All-American by the AVCA and the NAIA, and then Audrey Strasma was an honorable mention by the AVCA. Those honors are things that I love hearing about when players get recognized for their amazing play on the court. But you get a different seat, not only being a student once again, but also being in the athletic department. What stands out from both of these players?
Yeah, well, first off, both of these players are just as good at people off the court as they are on the court. I got to know them both a little bit, traveling with the team to Iowa and spending a week with them. And as I just said, both of them were always willing to lend a hand whenever anything was needed, and just good people in general. But to go to the athletic side of things, first off, Lexi Broyles. I mean, she's a sophomore, came in here last year, and she was a third-team All-American by the NAIA last year. So this year's award, she's obviously a unanimous All-American if she's getting voted on by the AVCA and the NAIA. But then to do that back-to-back years, and you still have 2 years of college eligibility left, that's super impressive. And the announcement by the NAIA yesterday of her being an All-American makes her the second Cougar ever in program history, alongside current graduate assistant coach Aaron Adams. So another accolade, and as I said, she'll have 2 more years to be in a territory, a land of her own in the IUK record book as a 3-time or maybe even 4-time All-American. But then we go on to Audrey Strasma, and you can't say enough about what Strasma has done for the IUK program in her 4 years here. I know coaches would love to have her back to spend her 5th year, but she's on to bigger and I won't say bigger and better things because there's a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
She's definitely on to some great things going to grad school. So excited for her, but those two's work on the court, they're a big reason why that this team had the success they had. And I'm just so proud of them. And it feels good to see these girls be recognized for all the hard work they put in both in and out of the classroom.
I always love watching just a volleyball team in general, but seeing players like Strasma was on the show, so it's a little bit different. Like talked to her a little bit, but it's always fun watching players being recognized as Athlete of the Week or here with these national awards, and then thinking about when we saw them play, amazing things they did, and to think that's an amazing play in the moment. A couple weeks or a month later, they're recognized nationally for numerous amazing plays. That's a great thing for a volleyball program this year that's losing some big seniors in Strasma, but also losing other seniors as well. They can look at this and say, if they're doing it now, and we did this collectively as a team, what can we do next year in the future?
Yeah, so there's a common factor that's true for both of these girls. Our coaching staff isn't changing as far as I know. Last time I heard, our coaching staff isn't changing. So the girls that have grown their success and taken leaps and bounds since they've been here at IUK as freshmen or transfers, I think that the new girls will continue to grow. The girls that we have as freshmen, they will continue to grow and be better as sophomores and juniors. And we had some freshmen step in and play big roles this year for the volleyball team, and they'll just be asked to step up and take on bigger roles as the years move on. I mean, definitely lost some key seniors, but we'll be back and maybe just as strong as ever. I'll be interested to see our preseason ranking for next year, as it should be high after the Sweet 16 finish.
Last weekend, we got to hear a little bit of a preview from you about indoor track and field. I believe they were going to Fort Wayne, Indiana Tech. And then I saw in a little write-up that I saw that the distance runners went somewhere else.
Correct.
So what happened over the weekend with indoor track and field?
Yeah, so every once in a while, just if sometimes the meet won't have a certain have a certain event. So I'm not sure if that was the case for this time, but definitely knows that some of the coaches took a few distance runners. I think it was 4 of them, 2 girls and 2 males up to GVSU in Michigan, and the distance runners competed there. And then just the 4 of them, as I said, and then the rest of the team was at Indiana Tech. That's throws, sprints, jumps, and maybe a couple of the mid-distance, not the real long distance, but maybe a couple mid-distance runners were competing here in state at Indiana Tech.
What highlight would you like to bring up? I mean, I got a list here, but this is not about me. You're the guy with the brain that knows everything going on. What kind of stuff sticks out of your mind about how they did over the weekend?
It's hard to remember with there being an 80-person team, essentially.
Yeah.
And I know the full team's not competing, so probably about 40 or 50 of them are competing right now, with the distance runners taking a bit of a break. But I think we're going to see some familiar names, just like Hannah Wells and Leslie Sprankles and Jonas Brooks, Stephen Case, and Bryce Statler. They'll be key in the distance side of things, but then you'll have a coach and athlete. That's one thing that we have going on there. Nolan Talley is both our sprints, jumps coach, as well as a student athlete. So he's returning from injury, and then he'll be back at the start of the new year, hopefully, as long as things go well, to compete in his jumps and maybe even a sprint or 2. But he's doing great things with the sprints program as a student coach, and it's awesome to see. He's really... Him and the coaching staff, Josh Colvin and Jordan Fiveko, have done well to recruit and bring in some talented freshmen, and we're already seeing that on the men's side. I think whether it was this weekend or last, I know Hayden Nelson out of Mississinawa impressed. I know he's impressed both weekends, but I believe it was this weekend he won the 60-meter and won another event as well. Also wasn't able to compete in the long jump finals because of time confliction. Time conflicting with his other events. So I definitely think there's a lot to be excited for, and we'll see. I mean, once they come back from Christmas break, they'll really hit it hard, and two more months of indoor work. And then I think the indoor nationals are first or second week of May. So they'll go out to South Dakota. Already have one guy qualified for that. Awesome to hear Nick Anders. He qualified in the 3,000 meter race walk. So we already know we have one student athlete competing and going to Sanford, South Dakota for the nationals, but we'll definitely have more. It's just a matter of time, but it's a great start with only 2 events. And a lot of these kids being rusty, it's their first 2 events in 6, 7, 8 months. So I think they'll grow leaps and bounds just from this Christmas break, as long as they're putting in the work, and we'll see some excellent times, different standards hit. So, yeah.
Are they doing anything this week?
Nothing this week. I think they return the 13th of January. They'll be back at Grand Valley State.
Okay. What about any sports on campus this week, or just sports in general? Doesn't have to be a home match, but just anything going on?
Yeah, so really all the things we have going on this week, it's a bit of a dead week for us. Besides the 2 home events, we do have women's basketball Tuesday, which by the time this aired, hopefully you guys followed us for the win. And then men's basketball plays Thursday night at home, both versus Midway. And then Saturday, women's basketball will hit the road for a non-conference game at Huntington University. But Jay, other than that, we're pretty slow times right now. It'll pretty much just be men and women's basketball will play some games over break. I think they actually play, women's basketball plays 4 games over break, so a good chunk of games, but they'll come next week and the week after before Christmas, and then we'll get back into River State's conference play. No more non-conference games after the break, and it's final stretch.
Any last comments you would like to leave us with about what's going on right now in the athletic department?
I just say in general, it's a great time to be a part of the IU Kokomo Athletic Department and IU Kokomo as a whole. We touched on this earlier, but 3 teams have won a conference tournaments, whether it's River State's or NECC, and so proud of where we've gone so far in this year, but we still have a whole nother semester of this academic year and athletic school year for our teams to go out and win tournaments, win awards, win championships. So I'm excited to see what all can be accomplished.
Coming up next on the Cougar Cast, the esports coach at IUK, Mr. Nick Liegey, will be joining us to talk about the conference championship win that the esports team had and other things going on that led up to this very successful season. As the Cougar Cast rolls on, I'd like to welcome into the show the esports coach at IUK who just won a conference championship in the sport's first year as a sport at IUK. It's Mr. Nick Liegey. Nick, welcome back to the show, but also congratulations.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I am super stoked to be here. And thank you so much. We put in a lot of hard work this season. We had a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but we ended up kind of pulling through. I'm not sure who all followed it, but both in our semifinal and in our actual finals, we started out 0-2 in both games and had to claw our way back with a 4-0 sweep to end it.
My goodness, how does it feel to coach a team in the first year at a program and they win a conference championship?
It feels good, but this is just the beginning. We are going to do more and more competitions. We're going to be facing harder schools and keep growing as an organization. Right now is my Overwatch team, but I also have 2 other teams with my Smash team and my Rocket League team. I want to get them to that level. I want to make sure we're all winning and just be one of the most dominant esports programs around.
So we talked to Nick earlier this year. I believe it was, if it wasn't at the beginning of the season, it was right after the season started. And we got to hear a little bit about esports and the sport, his passion for it, and just the thought of that sport being now at IUK. And it's also the only co-ed sport in the athletic department as well. So that's another new wrinkle there with the athletic department. And so earlier we got to hear Nick talk about passion and really his thoughts entering a new sport at a new school. Nick, I didn't expect this much success right now this soon. What were some of the highlights in the conference, in the playoffs that kind of highlight leading up to winning that championship?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody expected it. I know when I first came in, I even have talked to my students afterwards. When I first started recruiting students, they were like, yeah, I didn't know what to expect from this. I didn't know if this was going to be a club. I didn't even know if this was going to get off the ground. We banded together. Recruits came in quickly. We grew to about 20 students really fast, first semester ever, which is an accomplishment in itself. But then now how do we create this team? How do we find what's successful for us, find whose role is what? And it was a process. We came in looking as shaky as ever, but we started as early as possible. We started preparing in the summer before our season would actually start. I think it was about a month and a half beforehand. We were hosting practices, trying to figure out what we need to work on, where we can improve, what our roles were. But we were able to kind of figure out what those roles were. And we ended up going in season, working hard. Like I said, there was ups and downs.
Yeah.
There were some practices that we were killing it. We were rolling. We were looking awesome. And I could not wait. And we dominated the competition that week. And then we had another where we end up going in and it was, rough. Right before our quarterfinals game, playoff game, that was our worst practice week ever.
Wow.
I was like, we may not win this week. It was that bad. We were just not all on the same page. But when the lights were on and it was game time, they showed up. They communicated. They did everything I asked and beyond that, and really just made sure that they were going to put out the best effort they could do as a team.
So I learned earlier, and we all learned together here on the show, there's 3 different games. Overwatch, Rocket League, and Super Smash Bros.
Yes.
Quarterfinals, semifinals, and conference, one against Murray State, one against Missouri, one against Southern Illinois. Do you play all three against every opponent?
So it would be only for Overwatch.
Okay.
Overwatch played all those. Unfortunately, my other two teams missed playoffs by one game.
Okay. So that helps clarify, because I wasn't.
Yes.
I thought all three games were in the playoffs, but I see it's a playoff for each game.
So it would be a playoff match for Overwatch specifically.
Yeah.
And now they're each, so Rocket League and Smash, they're in their own divisions and facing other schools.
Okay.
And that they'll divide them off into, let's just say, for example, like we might be in one conference where we face school A, school B, school C. While another game that we play, we'd be maybe facing school Z, school Y, like completely different schools.
Okay.
Just kind of depends on who they match us up with.
Gotcha.
And they try to divide us off into like skill divisions. So right now, I already know before we actually started broadcasting, I said our Overwatch team, we were in the lowest division. We won it. We went undefeated. Now we're going to get bumped up to that next one. We're going to see, can we reach that next level? Can we keep pushing through?
I like that. I like the steps and the progression to move up and to get better. Do you think you're ready to move up as a coach and to coach against better competition?
Oh, I love the challenge. I do. I'm so excited for it. You'll see different play styles. You'll see different coaching techniques, and I'm excited to learn it all. Are we going to go undefeated in the next one? Who knows? We're going to try, but at the same time too, every time we lose, every time we struggle, we're going to push ourselves to be better. We're going to learn from those experiences, and we're going to keep seeing how far we can actually take this program.
So what's next with the program? I understand the fall season is over. Is there something in the spring that you're preparing for?
So in the spring, we're going to have the same three teams are all going to come back, and we're all going to get placed into divisions. We'll see if we move up. Overwatch, I assume we will because of our major success we've already had. But some of the other ones, we're going to see if they kind of stay put or if we've made some improvements and see how far they go in their spring season. We're definitely going to be hoping to add a couple of games. If it's not next semester, it might be next year.
Okay.
So we're talking about right now we have 3. We may have 5 or 6 next year. We have to kind of, we're going through some titles. I'm trying to get some approved, as well as we have some titles where we're just trying to get enough student interest to be able to form enough of a team. And if we grow, say, for example, with Overwatch, we have about 9 kids on the team. If we get enough players, maybe next semester or next year, we have 15, we could have actually 2 teams compete. We might have, IUK red and IUK white and whatever that might be. And they can kind of compete in their own like skill divisions.
That's a really fun way for people to do something different in a university, athletic wise in sports, and maybe do Overwatch, but red and white. It's a great way to get more people involved, but also like I talk about the challenge of your team moving up to a new division in Overwatch, having more athletes right there under your watch. It's also another challenge for you. How do you plan on attacking, the potential challenge of coaching more people and more teams in esports?
Yeah, that becomes the question. I always say, like, right now we play 3 games. It's like having 3 different sports you have to coach. Different rules, different coaching styles, or different coaching techniques. And not only you have different players for each, but you also are trying to teach different concepts and have to learn each different game, their ins and outs. It's tough. I know my Overwatch team's already the biggest. There's been challenges. How do I divvy out enough time? I don't want to isolate one team versus another team. And how can I spread out enough time? A lot of what we're trying to do and what I'm game planning is kind of organizing joint practices where I may spend X amount of time handling, team A, while team B might be getting some more time on another period of that practice. Beyond that, I've been very fortunate where I have an assistant coach for Overwatch, an assistant coach for Smash. They've been able to kind of help, support that extra practice or that extra coaching that I can't always be there for every single player. So we're trying to do our best, do what we can. And hopefully as we continue to grow, there's more time I can dedicate to it and make more of this program than what it is, even though it's already accomplished a lot.
One thing I like doing to talk to different coaches, especially at IUK, is hearing, maybe not on the show, but maybe when I'm at a game or something, how they recruit. How do they go about recruiting in their sport? Esports is different. And I say that knowing, yes, it's a niche sport. There's something that people play video games, but it's not like just like your average guys playing video games over the weekend. It's completely different than that as far as the level of competition that you're playing all the time. But also, I don't see people out here playing different video games, Overwatch and stuff, just on ESPN or on television like that to know like, oh, I know these guys. I know he's like number 1 in this and he's number 5, but he's moving up to number 4. How do you go about recruiting in this sport?
It's definitely a process. It's very unique than traditional sports. I'm sure you think of like maybe a basketball coach will go to like an actual basketball game and start recruiting players and see what talent's out there. It's a little bit more virtual, especially when it comes to video game and esports where we're at. So you can find people not only through social media platforms, posting clips, looking on Twitch for people who stream, but also I can reach out to a lot of local high schools. I reach out to their coaches, see what, sometimes they'll even post footage on YouTube or anything of that nature, kind of look at that. I can get my foot in the door. Especially local tournaments are huge. Going into tournaments and talking with not only coaches, but watching players, talking with the players, and really kind of getting on their level and speaking with them what you have to offer has been definitely huge for us, and trying to build these relationships in our community, in these high schools, to be able to get this next level of talent coming into our school.
Nick, last thing here for you. What are your last comments about this championship season? First semester, you've been the coach, first semester of the esports program. What are your last thoughts about just how the semester has gone so far?
It's like I said, it was a journey, but we are super stoked. I want to definitely give a shout out to our starters, Dylan, Alex, Gavin, Cody, and Sean. They were all huge. They all worked together. My team captains were Gavin and Sean, and they helped to organize practices, keep them on the right track, focus on what we can game plan for and how we can get better as a team. That's really helped support me. But beyond that too, really kind of, like I said, stepping up when it's game time, they're ready to lock in, show up, and output what they need to make sure that they can get that win every single time. We'll see if we can continue that success as we push on, but what I can guarantee you, they're going to keep trying, they're going to keep getting better, and we're going to take it as far as everybody is willing to go.
I'd like to thank Nick Liegey for coming on the show, the esports coach at IUK, and also for Grant Patterson, the sports information coordinator, for coming on the show as well. This has been Cougar Cast. We'll see you next time.